Good morning. Welcome to the home of the Calgary Unitarians. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your journey of faith or search for meaning, welcome. If you are visiting for the first time or the first time in a long time, know that we are grateful to have you with us. We come together in beloved community to grow in wisdom, welcome and deepen relationships, and act for a just and sustainable world. My name is Carol Yankee, and I use the pronouns she and her. I started visiting this congregation 3 years ago, looking for community and purpose. I continue to come because I found that and so much more. I've been challenged in my thinking and encouraged to expand my comfort zone. If you are here in person, please stay for coffee after the service today. And if you're joining us online, please stay on after the service for our virtual coffee hour. Now, wherever we are, let us remember and acknowledge the traditional territories and languages of all whose ancestors were here before us. We recognize our responsibility to be stewards of this land and acknowledge that we do so in cooperation with the people of the Blackfoot Confederacy of Southern Alberta, comprised of the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, as well as the Dene First Nation band Tsuut'ina, and the Nakota First Nation, also known as Stoney. Alberta's Nakota First Nation is comprised of 3 bands, Bearspaw, Chiniki, and Wesley. Mohkinstsis, the Blackfoot word for what is now known as the city of Calgary, is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. In offering a land acknowledgement, we honor those who have long been her stewards and accept our shared responsibility for being good caretakers. We acknowledge that Treaty 7, signed September 22nd, 1877, was entered into as a collaboration between settlers and Indigenous peoples, making us all treaty people.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome again to Calgary Unitarians. I'm the Reverend Shelley Thompson. My pronouns are she and her, and I have the pleasure of serving as your interim minister. Our worship theme this month is belonging, something we know a lot about around here. And as we dive into this transitional congregational year, there's already a lot going on, and we have some important things to share with you. Starting with today, we are having a lunch and a presentation from our beloved Mary Anna Louise Kovar, who is on our Committee on Shared Ministry. Is this working? Can you hear me? Okay, good. Thank you. And we're going to be talking a lot about shared ministry today and for the next year. And we did a survey last winter of folks that were available to do that. So we learned some things, and it raised a lot of thought-provoking questions. So we're hoping you can stick around and have lunch with us and take a look at what we looked like back then and talk about where we're going together. So please plan to stick around for that. And then our ministerial search committee is underway. They are busy already, and they have scheduled a big series of Zoom meetings, and one of them is in fact this afternoon. So if you're at home and you haven't been able to come to church today, and you're going to be home at 1 o'clock and ready to Zoom, they're going to be talking to all of our different shared ministry teams throughout the church. And so there's lots of chances to do this. If you're here today talking with Mary Anna Louise, you'll have plenty of other chances where we do want each and every person to get in on at least one of those Zoom conversations. You're welcome at all of them. They're talking about volunteering and administration today specifically. So that's a lot of shared ministry teams, hospitality, nomination, ambiance, moving forward, our building team, social media, membership, all that good stuff. And many more. So what we want to know in talking to everybody is, what are your hopes and dreams for the future ministry of Calgary Unitarians? Because that's going to then help that search team get ready to talk to potential new ministers and find someone who's a really good fit, the kind of leader and the kind of partner you need for your shared ministry. So please don't miss out on those conversations. They're having lots and lots of them. There's a calendar at e-news. Michael Laboldis is here today. He's on that team. Marcia is here today. Mariana Louise is here today. So if you're not sure when those are, please check with them, check the schedule, and get it on your to-do list to contribute. And there'll be lots of other ways we'll talk about that too. So if you manage to get home speedily today by 1 o'clock or a little bit after, and you want to jump in and just keep right on talking shared ministry, please do that as well. I know they'd love to have you. We have beloved Sheila and Trish are here today with co-op cards, and they need you, if you are one of the co-op card people, to please come get those right away after church so that they can get on with their busy day. They have some folks who are going to meet with them outside, and they're going to be out of here by noon. They got things to do today. So they would really appreciate it if you are a co-op card person, and we hope you are, to get right out there into the coffee room, grab those co-op cards while we grab some lunch and coffee, and then we're coming right back in here anyway to get started on our conversation. So that's good news. All good stuff that's happening here at Calgary Unitarians. And then I also want you to mark your calendars for October 2nd. We're having more potluck. We're going to just keep having lunch together. And it's our moving forward team's turn to talk about everything that we've learned about our building. What are we going to do? What is the shared ministry around this building and your space? So that's going to be a fantastic conversation. It's so complicated. We really do need all of you to please participate in that because it's so vital to everything we do. Good stuff. Good stuff. And now I'm going to light our chalice this morning with the words of Marta Valentin in gatherings. We've got our children's chalice lit that Sheila will take down with her when she goes to spend time with our little people today. This is one of our wonderful traditions. If you've always wondered what this thing is or what is Sheila doing, we take our chalice flame, we share it with our children's chalice, and it goes with them as they are members of our vital community. And we want them to understand the fire of commitment as we do. So we thank Sheila for doing that wonderful tradition with us. And I just love that rainbow chalice. So that's what that's all about. In gatherings, we are stirred like the leaves of the fall season, rustling around sacred trees, tossed hither and yon, until we come to rest together, quietly, softly. We come to gather strength from each other. We come to give strength to each other. We come to ask for strength from the spirit of all that is and is not. When our hearts sing or when they frown, it's the way of compassion telling us to give. It's the way of peace telling us to share our gifts. For we are happiest and most powerful when love is made apparent in us and through us. Spirit of the circle that is love, as we twirl in this dance that is life, we give thanks for reminding us each day of our task of ministering to each other with a searching glance, a safe touch, a generous smile, a thoughtful word. Thank you for reminding us that we are always building our beloved comunidad. Thank you for reminding us that through our covenant with you, we covenant with each other and are made whole. In gratitude, we celebrate with open hearts and minds. We discover who we are, separate from each other and with one another. In this circle that holds all life, may we ever work toward widening its boundaries until there are none. Amen. Pause and blessed be. Let us worship together.
All right, so nice to see the choir here this morning. And this song is one that Christian came up with as part of our theme of belonging. And we're going to do it for you today. when you're not sure who you really are, and all you feel is the shape of your scars, and you have more wounds than you can count. Open your eyes, look all around. You're not alone. This is your home. Come and remember who you are here. Do this to remember who I am. Come and remember you belong here. All belong here. When you don't know how to forgive, and locked doors seem like the only way to live, and you've got more questions than you can count. Open your eyes, look all around. You're not alone. This is your home. Come and remember who you are here. Do this to remember who I am. Come and remember you belong here. All belong here. And at this table, come as you are, and broken and bleeding's okay. And at this table, eat and be filled. Come and drink in this grace. Come and remember who you are here. Do this to remember who I am. Come and remember you belong here. All belong here. Thank you so much, and thank you, Christian. And as many of you know, I'm Sheila McMaster, Director of Religious Education here at the Calgary Unitarians, and my pronouns are she and her. And we have a beautiful fall morning this morning, and we're going to be celebrating the fall equinox, which is happening September 21st, and Mabon, which is a pagan celebration. So I've got a fire pit going on outside, and we're going to be roasting apples and marshmallows, and we've got our mint plant that we grew this summer with the kids, having fresh mint tea, and we're going to be doing a little tour of the gardens. And so if any of you want to pop out just for a bit and then pop back in for Marianne Louise's wonderful presentation, but everyone is welcome to come out and roast something and have a bit of mint tea. So you're welcome out there. And we've got our apples here on the table to kind of show Mabon. Apples are one of the symbols of Mabon. So it's both the colors of fall and it's about time of renewal and healing. And so, yeah, try out an apple for Mabon. That'll be good. Also, we have a great story for our shared ministry theme today. As many of you know, Jane Perry, and she would often say, you know, if you text or email her or just chatting with her, she'd say, oh, cool beans. She would say that, cool beans. And so today's story is actually called Cool Beans. It's that's how I thought of that. And so it's a story about how the very smallest of actions can have a big impact on someone's day. So The Cool Bean by Jory Jean and Pete Oswald. Watch out, here comes the cool beans, the cool beans. Oh yeah, check out how they move. Look at how they swagger. Notice their sunglasses. Yow! The cool beans are known all over school, from house to house, across town, beyond county lines. In the olden days, last year, we were all one big pot of beans. We were a mixed bag, but somehow it worked. Yep, those were the good old days. And then we stopped seeing each other as much. And that's just how it is sometimes. You spend less time together, even though you're not totally sure why. And I watched as the beans I knew so well, the beans from my own pod, became the cool beans. Oh, they were so cool. And one of them could play guitar, cool. One of them could draw the best superheroes, cool. One of them could jump higher than any bean I've ever known, cool. Well, me, I mostly stayed the same. Sure, I made some small changes. I wore sunglasses, too big. I slicked my hair back, too slick. I strutted around, ow, and I swaggered, oof. I was still picked last for everything. And my clothes never seemed to fit, and I snorted when I laughed, and I walked into stuff. I was an uncool bean for sure. And I started thinking of myself as just a common bean with no special skills, and I couldn't compete, so I didn't even try. I'd never be a cool bean. It seemed like there were two types of beans in the world. There were cool beans and beans like me. And the days all blended together, and I lived my life, and things were just okay. And I took tests, and I ate lunches, and I mostly kept to myself. And the cool beans continued being cool, and I mean, sure, I missed them a bit. But it's not like I was going to say anything. I felt like all that coolness had gotten in the way of our friendship. And that's just how it went until one day I was in the cafeteria and I dropped my lunch on my loafers. Oh no, not again. But then something sort of miraculous happened. Out of nowhere, one of the cool beans helped me clean it up. He didn't even say anything. He just gave me a nod, and that was it. And later I was out on the playground and I tripped and I scraped my knee and maybe cried a little bit. And everybody saw it. And another one of the cool beans came to my side, and without a word, he dusted me off. And that afternoon I was sitting in class and I really wasn't paying attention. And I didn't notice, but my teacher had called on me. And everybody was staring, and I sat there in silence, and nobody said anything. And then everybody just laughed at me, and that was it. After today, I was officially a has-been. But then one of the cool beans stood up and came over to me, and everybody watched. And she leaned close and whispered, "Hey, the teacher asked you to read from page 32. She gave me a quick wink and went back into her seat. And it was a small gesture, sure, but it was also everything. And I walked home with a goofy smile on my face, and I smiled all the way through dinner, and that day made all the difference. It was a day that could have been really bad if not for the kindness of a few cool beans. And it gave me a shred of confidence. That shred of confidence has continued to grow. Somebody had my back, or a few somebodies. And after that, I started hanging out with the cool beans again. How have you been? Get it? How have you been? Not all the time, but sometimes at lunch, after school, even on weekends. And throughout all of this, I realized it's not about how you look or any of that silly stuff. It's about a wink or a nod or a smile at just the right moment. It's about dusting somebody off and helping them up again. and pointing them in the right direction. You need a hand? Yes, please. Now that's cool. And so as we go into our day, I hope that we can all be cool beans. And now please join me as we sing The Children Outside.
Go now in peace.
Our reading this morning is by Gordon McKeeman, entitled Ministry is All That We Do. Ministry is all that we do together. Ministry is that quality of being in community that affirms human dignity, beckons forth hidden possibilities, invites us into deeper, more constant, reverent relationships, and carries forward our heritage of hope and liberation. Ministry is what we do together as we celebrate triumphs of our human spirit, miracles of birth and life, wonders of devotion and sacrifice. Ministry is what we do together with one another in terror and torment, in grief and misery and pain, enabling us in the presence of death to say yes to life. We who minister speak and live the best we know with full knowledge that it is never quite enough. And yet are reassured by lostness found, fragments reunited, wounds healed, and joys shared. Ministry is what we do together.
As a beloved community of care and concern, it is my sad responsibility to share with you that our beloved Dorothy DeBeach has passed away last night. She was in hospice. She was surrounded by family and friends, and her dear Sufi teacher was with her. And we know that she endured a great deal of pain and suffering. So we are saddened to miss her. We will definitely not be quite the same without our Dorothy. And her celebration of life will be soon. I'll be speaking with her family tomorrow. And because her brother lives out of town, he'll be wanting us to have that service within the next few days here so that he can go on home. So I will let you know as soon as I know. Keep an eye on your e-news and on our Caring Bridge site. And we will gather to celebrate Dorothy's life. And that is truly one of our great sorrows today. We light a candle for all of our sorrows, our concerns, the things that weigh us down, the times when we really need our people with us, to hold us, to comfort us, to love us. And we continue to send our love and support to Jane Perry. And we light a candle for the good news, the joys, the choirs here today. I'm very excited to have you all here. This is the first time for me to be doing worship with you all, and I'm thrilled. And we light a global candle because we know the world is in desperate need of our saving ministry, the love that we have to share with one another and the wider community. And now I invite you to come forward and light your own candles, and to also, if you would like to place a pebble in our communal bowl while we sing Spirit of Life.
of battles lost and won. Some sing of the dreams of a new day in the sun. Some sing of the love, and some sing just for fun. In the circle of song we are one. Come join with me in the circle of song, the young and the old, the weak and the strong, singing with one voice, though we may speak different tongues. In the circle of song we are one. Some sing of this land, the country of their birth. Some sing of this land, of the beauty of the earth. Some sing of this land, for all that it is worth. In the circle of song we are one. Viens avec moi dans ce cercle d'amis, les jeunes et moins jeunes, les grands et petits, chantent d'une seule voix à travers les différences, dans ce cercle d'amis tous unis. Each of us must leave this place and go back to our home. Each of us must walk a path that must be walked alone. And each of us will bear the fruit of the seeds that we have sown. In the circle of song we are one.
Come join with me in the circle of
Taking the song, singing with one voice, though we may speak different tongues. In the circle of song we are one.
Come join with me in the circle of
singing with one voice, though we may speak different tongues. In the circle of song we are one. In the circle of song we are one.
Thank you, wonderful choir. It really got to me. That's the first time since March of 2020 that I've been in worship with a choir. And it is such a joy. Such a joy. Thank you. Crying over here. I love that song. I love that song. My beloved Calgary Unitarians, who are you? Why are you here? What is your vision of your shared ministry? Don't worry, it's not a pop quiz, but there is a cumulative final exam next spring when you have to choose a new minister, right? So we want to pay attention. These are just some of the really challenging, big questions that we're trying to answer during this year of transitional ministry. And I like what Reverend Carmen Emerson has to say about this kind of momentous spiritual discernment. She says, we are called to be courageous questioners. Courageous questioners, meaning we are called to be curious, thoughtful, generous, engaged, and vulnerable people who trust each other enough to be open-minded and wholehearted as we deal with the tensions, the uncertainties, and the discomfort that's an inevitable part of a change process. Are you courageous questioners? I think you are. Yeah? From what I've seen. Seekers, my people. So naturally, undergoing a transition to search for and call a new settled minister is something that the congregation has to do together. Just like almost everything we do, it's a shared ministry. Courageous questioners want to know, what exactly do we mean by Unitarian Universalist shared ministry? Well, a lot of you have given the concept of shared ministry a lot of thought because it's so all-fired important. And according to UU lay leader Gay Webb, shared ministry is when the minister, the lay leadership, and the congregational volunteers, that's one of those all y'all situations, everybody, when the minister, the lay leadership, and the congregational volunteers work collaboratively in covenant with mutual trust and support toward a common vision and a set of goals for the congregation and the community at large. She adds this little pearl of wisdom. It's not when there's a lot of individual volunteers doing a lot of work. We know that can happen too. Eric's somewhere in this building. Eric spends probably 100 hours a month in this building taking care of things. Whoa, Eric, we love you, Eric. That's just one example. We have a lot of folks who do this kind of thing. And, you know, he has a plant team who are diehards and they help him too. But it is one of those things where there's just so much work to do and we all do our best to pitch in. So maybe that's an example of one of those courageous questions of how do we share those kinds of ministries so that we don't burn people out like our beloved Eric. Sometimes it's necessary when the roof is leaking for Eric to just come on over here and fix it. But part of the reason why we have a moving forward team is to talk about that. The courageous questions of the shared ministry of having a space together. What does that mean? It's the church work, changing light bulbs, fixing roofs, cleaning kitchens, and then it's the work of the church, the mission too, both the big and the small. And it's the working together, the common purpose as a faith community that really makes us special. And that is what serves us the best in our own transformation. Part of coming and being a part of a congregation is to transform yourself and others, because we know transformed people transform people and the world around us. And that's who we are. It's who we want to be. So these are courageous questions about how to actually get that done. Reverend Eric Walker Wickstrom, or Wick as we call him, he asks us to imagine church not as a place led by a few overly taxed people, but one where leadership is a broadly shared ministry that members of the community undertake for the deep joy of it. Well, I've experienced a lot of deep joy in this place, and I know you have too. Even just on Sunday, cleaning up the kitchen, that's a shared ministry. We know it has to get done, and it's fun. We have a lot of fun in that kitchen. Are there any of my fruitcake makers here? If someone said to you, go make 300 fruitcakes by yourself, we all just think you're crazy. But if we said, we're going to do this together, it's going to be so much fun. That's shared ministry, right? And it's church work, but it's also for the work of the church. And it makes us, our lives so enriched. We get so much out of it. So Wick is advocating for everything we do to be considered a spiritual practice from that attitude of gratitude and faith and values and the love we have for one another. Whatever we're doing, it's joyful because we're doing it together and we're doing it for this common purpose. In their article, Shared Ministry in a Time of Pandemic, leaders Kathy McGowan and Nancy Combs Morgan give us a similar definition that has that spiritual dimension in it, which is so essential to congregational life. They tell us shared ministry embodies a whole church vision which reflects the understanding that everything we do is faith development. They go on. What we know is that sustainable and transformative shared ministry experiences require clarity of covenant, vision, mission, and roles. And at this time in particular, in the wake of COVID, and when you're in transitional ministry too, shared ministry is an opportunity to simplify. By simplifying, you get to the essence of what truly matters in your congregation's life. Now's a great time to get rid of extraneous stuff. Speaking of Eric, he's done a lot of that lately. He's cleared out a lot of extraneous stuff out of this building. We love our volunteers. Thank you all. But we want to take a look at who we are, who we want to become, and what is our identity. Good information from them. Those are all courageous questions. What is our current capacity for sustainable and transformative shared ministry? The kind where it is joyful and we love doing it. And then what are the areas of growth, both spiritual growth and potential numbers growth, bringing more people into our circles? We have to ask ourselves, how much shared ministry can we do right now and this year while doing it in a way that nurtures our faith and sustains our spirits in the process? Why are we here? Who are we becoming? What shared ministry does that call you to do in the near future and beyond? How we do our shared ministry is just as important as what we do and why we do it. And this leads us to a practical question, which just happens to be the title of an article by regional leader James Kubel-Komodo. What's the difference between mission, vision, covenant, and even strategic plan? Those are courageous questions. He tells us a mission answers the question, why do we exist in the world? Why are we here? A vision statement answers the questions, what is the future we hope for and dream for in this congregation? How will the congregation fulfill its mission at this particular time and at this particular place? A covenant answers the question, how? How shall we be together with one another as we carry out this mission and this vision? And then a strategic plan is more specific, and it lists specific goals and objectives and timelines for achieving them. Annual goals can identify how the mission and vision will be achieved in a particular year. And we encourage each of our shared ministry teams to do that. The board does that. The hospitality team, the membership team, all of our teams that you'll be talking to with the search committee, they all do those. They do specific goals for the year. And then we also want to do that as a congregation as a whole. That's that meta level that we're looking at this year. So it's helpful to know the differences between these key components of shared ministry: mission, vision statement, covenant, strategic plan, and to pay attention to how they are mutually reinforcing. And in our case, we have our Calgary Unitarians mission statement that is from 2012 that answers for us, why do we exist? And we recite that every Sunday. We come together in beloved community, guided by our Unitarian Universalist principles and sources, you know it, to grow in wisdom, to welcome and deepen relationships, and to act for a just and sustainable world. So a good, courageous question is this still your mission? Is this why you exist? Is this working for you? Is this the way you want to carry forward? Or maybe there's room for conversation there. Maybe there's room for some discernment. The Calgary Unitarians covenant was a labor of love after there'd been some conflict and this question of how do we be together when we are humans and we fail at our covenantal promises to one another. What do we do to restore right relationship? And what are we going to promise each other about how we want to be together? Covenant, I just can't emphasize enough. It's right at the core of Unitarian Universalist faith. It's what centers us. And this congregation developed a right relationship covenant, and it was approved in 2020. So you haven't had too much chance to practice it yet. But in the preamble, it says, as you read the covenant, remember that the covenant of right relations is not a set of rules to be enforced by the leaders. It's a set of guidelines and agreements designed to clearly express what behaviors will help us in co-creating a welcoming, respectful, safe, and vibrant spiritual community. It's a tool to hold ourselves and each other accountable for our communication and our action. It helps us deepen community by acknowledging our individual and collective intentions to live into our faith. And it's a promise that we will make to each other as members of a beloved community. We will hold each other accountable to the agreement, and being human, will occasionally fail. When this occurs, because we know it will, we will remind ourselves and each other of the agreement. We like to say we're going to call each other back in to covenant. We don't call people out, we're calling people back in. As individuals and as a group, we will participate willingly in reconciliation, restoration, forgiveness, and recommitment. That's good stuff. That took some work, didn't it, Mariana Louise? There are 4 key areas of promises for this covenant, and each one has its own then specific guidelines underneath. And what I've done is, in case you don't already have the covenant pinned to your refrigerator at home, there are copies in the lobby, and I'd like each and every one of you to please take one home. Please study it, please read it, please pull it out whenever you have a church meeting or something you're going to be doing here together, because it's really the heart and soul of who we are. And we want to get used to paying attention and really living into our process of being together, not just what we're doing, but how we're doing it as a habit. We want to focus on that all the time. So the 4 big promises are to show each other respect, to communicate directly and honestly, and to participate with trust and commitment, and then to express encouragement and appreciation. And I do want to speak out the last agreement in the section of expressing encouragement and appreciation, because I love it. It says, we make room for creativity, comfort, camaraderie, and joy as we act for the common good of our beloved community. This is your process theology. People talk a lot about how in Unitarian Universalism, we're individual seekers. We can have a free and responsible search for truth and meaning as individuals, which we love and adore. But really, it's our common covenant and our shared process theology of how we are together, how we do what we do, that is the heart of the Unitarian Universalist faith. So some courageous questions come up. How familiar are you with covenant, and this covenant in particular? How often do you practice it in your meetings? Do you need some practice sessions? Do you want to do that? Do you need to be more mindful about using it all the time and reminding ourselves all the time that we're a covenantal people and that we absolutely love that about each other? Is it on your refrigerator? Because I might just come check. And this is at least 50% of your grade when it comes to calling and keeping a new minister. It's very, very important. I cannot tell you how important this is when you are calling a new minister. If they come and they say, this congregation knows covenant, they're going to be lining up to apply here. You know how to do the process of being in good relationship with one another. Because there are congregations full of bullies out there, my friends. It's really sad, but it's true. And I've seen it take people down, a lot of people. So we don't want that to happen. We know that's not going to happen here. So that covenant's really important. How are you covenanting for transformation? What is the covenant around how you do the search process as a congregation? Because we know we don't want to overtax your search team. They're busy, dedicated people. They need your help. This is something everybody is going to participate in. Well, and right now, the congregation doesn't have a current vision statement or strategic plan, because that's precisely what we're doing this year in transitional ministry. Those are the tasks before us this year. And to that end, we have a very busy schedule. As you've already heard today, Mariana Louise is going to be talking with us about, well, what did it look like when 41 people answered a survey last fall? And what does that mean about where we're going? And Michael's going to be part of the conversation. If you happen to be online today, and certainly for the rest of the week and all month long, please come to those conversations and come to as many of them as you can about all of the different kinds of shared ministry we have. And then our fabulous Moving Forward team on October 2nd will be bringing to you the pragmatic, practical nuts and bolts wisdom they've gained. Michael's on that team too. So is Marcia. We got a lot of people who do many, many things around here. That's part of that conversation we want to have about the capacity for all these shared ministries that we love. But what are we going to do with this building? Do you want it? Do you love it? You're going to keep it? You're going to sell it? There's so many options and it's really complex. So that Moving Forward team is bringing you some answers to help you then continue the courageous conversation about your space, about your Calgary Unitarians home. So that's a really important conversation on October 2nd. And then the Board of Trustees, oh, there's Marcia again. We're going to have a wonderful spiritual retreat in November that's about this renewal. It's about this loving and caring about one another as a community and getting down to specifics about the hopes and dreams we have for this congregation. And our dear beloved Leslie Robinson is going to lead us in a phenomenal process of getting to some strategic planning and some goals that involve our dreams together. So we really want everyone to come to that. We hope so many will come that we'll get to do it 2 days in a row because I love retreats. I could live there. So it's a very exciting time to be a Calgary Unitarian. We are very lucky to have this chance to do this amazing work together. Mariana Louise told me that she'd kind of heard a rumor from sort of the stereotypical congregant says, it's interim ministry. I guess I'll just wait until the minister shows up, the new person, right? Well, that's just not how this place runs. That's not how this works, because this is your congregation. And so it's up to you to figure out together who to call, and knowing full well that that person is your partner in shared ministry, not someone who's just going to come and fix it. And, oh, look, magically there'll be 50 families. And, oh, look, we have outreach. And, you know, ministers don't have magic wands. I wish we did. But the work of how do we get from here to there? And then that's just an exciting beginning. So this interim time really is very fruitful. It's very exciting. And I am so pleased and privileged to be able to do this alongside you and be a coach and a guide and a courageous questioner with you. And as a brief moment of reflection for us, this is one we'll have to carry forward with us. Reverend Bill Singford, he was the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association back in 2008. And the Unitarian Universalist Association had a growth team. How do we grow our congregations? We all know that's on our minds. And they got together with 12 ministers of really growing churches. And the facilitator did something brilliant. The question she asked them was, what is the saving message of your congregation? What's the saving message of your congregation? And they all started talking and sharing, and they came up with a common theme. They said, the saving message is that we nurture the human spirit. We encourage and help people to get in contact with the holy in their lives, and we help heal the world. And Bill tells us from then on, nurture the spirit and help heal the world became a kind of mantra. And it ran through their whole workshop together and their retreat that they did, shifting them away from a preoccupation of what do we all believe or all of that. It's no, really, what are we about? What's the saving message? We nurture the human spirit and we help heal the world. And Bill asks, how can we help one another to deepen our spiritual lives, encouraging one another to spiritual depth? For this too helps heal the world. And out of this place of nurture, what are we called to do to help heal the world? Tradition, action, and care for the soul are of one cloth. What is the saving message of your congregation? Good question. We're going to carry that with us throughout the coming year. And now, Mariana Louise.
This is the time that we honor and gratefully receive the financial support that sustains this congregation.
You're a rock
unit-
star, Mariana Louise. Hold it up.
Every Unitarian congregation is financially independent and totally self-supporting. And we need everyone's support to keep fulfilling our mission. And it's through our hard work, the work of our hearts, our hands, and our voices, but also it's from our wallets. So we thank you very, very much for the contributions you make to our financial stability. And those of you who make regular pledges that we don't notice when we're passing around the basket, donations through auto pay, through e-checks and other digital means, thank you. We also have contributions from this room, and there are envelopes available to you to identify your contributions and put them in the basket as it's passed around by our ushers. We also give some of our wealth to others who need assistance. And our For Others this month is the Urban Society for Aboriginal Youth. The mission of the Urban Society for Aboriginal Youth is to enrich the lives of all urban Indigenous youth by nurturing self-empowerment and fostering healthy collaboration and communication to ensure healthy future generations. Their programs combine social innovation and traditional Indigenous culture, resulting in unique programs that meet the Indigenous youth where they're at, while encouraging positive identity and sense of self. They co-create programming with the Indigenous youth, the partners and elders, which is also unique to charitable organizations and is one contributing factor that makes their work highly successful. The goal is to create services that meet the direct needs of the youth they serve and how they create change right in their own community. They currently offer 30 programs. Your offerings for the work of this church and for the work of the Urban Society for Aboriginal Youth will now be gratefully received.
From you. Thank you so much for gathering together today, dear ones. Please remember to stay for lunch and talk with Mariana Louise about that survey and our courageous questions. We extinguish our chalice, but not the fire of commitment that fuels all of our shared ministries here. Everything that we do together is ministry. Now, please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing the fire of commitment.